Welcome everyone, welcome to another episode of Son of Elijah. My name is Mac the Lion and I'm your host for this program. I look forward to that which God is ready to do even in our timeline, because there is an outbreak of God's faithfulness that every single person on the earth needs to connect with. I had visions and revelations regarding that which God is doing even in this timeline. And some of the things he showed me is magnanimous, and the enemy is scared, super scared of that which God is breaking forth even in this generation, even in this timeline that he has scheduled for us. But I want everyone to pay very close attention. Now, I am looking at the foundation of mythical Babylon, which is Mystery Babylon. And that's why this series is titled The Criminality or the Criminal Enterprise of False Prophets. The criminal enterprise of false prophets. Unfortunately, the church has been seriously hijacked. The church has been criminally compromised by a spiritual cabal of falsifiers and deceivers, spiritual miscreants that have invaded the church in form of snakes. And you have to understand how it works. Now, these individuals are not the snakes, they are just hosts to the snakes. I saw a vision one time where I was battling a certain serpent in the heavenlies, in the second heavens, and in his mouth I saw what he was doing. It had the dark matter brewing up in the center of his belly, and once it was ready, it brings up that dark matter. Now, dark matter is evil. For some of us who are not used to my teaching, dark matter is just evil, the presence of evil. That's what dark matter is. So he's able to bring it up from the very belly and then raise it up all the way to his neck, the top side of his neck or his torso, as it were. I don't know what it's called, or a snake's stem is called, but that's exactly where it raises it up to. And then in that vision, I did not see how it did it, but I saw that there were snakes, tiny baby snakes that were all in its belly, and all those ones came out. And after a while, his mouth was filled with so many snakes, and then he opened his mouth. And he opened his mouth, each of those tiny snakes took portions of that dark matter, and they were being released all over the earth, and they were going everywhere. And then I saw them entering churches, saw them entering ministries, and then I saw pastors who were preaching from the pulpit. They were preaching, heralding God's word. But as they were preaching, God showed me by the side of their ear there were tiny holes there. And those tiny holes, I don't know the compromise that they must have indulged in that created that gap or hole in their ear, just beside the open cavity of their eardrum. And then I saw immediately that those snakes climbed on their legs, went through their whole body, climbed all the way to the top, went to their shoulder, ran through their neck, and then got to that point and then jumped in. And the very minute it jumped in, it started swimming into them and then lodged within the membrane of their inner man. And from there, those spirits now started growing in them. And I saw that those snakes started speaking words into their ears. And when they hear those words, then they will respond. When they hear those words, then they will prophesy. When they hear those words, then they say things. And the truth is that when they say, I just heard, they did hear. They did hear. But the funny thing is that what they heard was a snake. I remember there was a man who was looking at me at one time and said God spoke to him specifically about me. And he started giving me prophecy. And I was looking at him. In my mind, I said, who's going to take this word from you? I don't care even if this word is God himself that told you. I won't take it from you. Because this guy was a serial adulterer. And there is no way I'm going to take any message from anyone like that. The reason is because his ear cavity had holes behind it. Simple and short. And a snake would definitely move in there and create a living room there and move him permanently, and from there instruct him. Now remember, these snakes are familiar entities. They know you, they know the person you are prophesying to. So they will say, God said this, and those things will match up with what you are already used to, what you do, what your practices are, what your mannerisms are, what your expectations in life are. But that's not where the death is coming. They are waiting. Once immediately you now respond to that and get hooked in, then they now move for the kill. Now they start telling you what they are saying saying that God is saying this is what you need to do, and that's where the destruction is. Now, I don't need that prophecy. I've never needed it. I have a relationship with God. I can have as much as 100 to 200 visions a day if I tarry in God's presence. And the God who speaks to me from morning to night, why do I need you to tell me anything extra? When most of the visions I receive is even for others, how much more for myself? If I have 200 visions and encounters and revelations in a day, maybe just 5 or 7 or even 3 that is mine. The rest is for others. It's for people I'm praying for. It's for ministrations. It's for all kinds of things. So if God wanted to tell me something, he would have told me the time I was having that depth of relationship and depth of connection with him. I don't need you to just show up and be giving me prophecies when I can't trust you. And I can never trust someone who is, deep in sin and who is defending his sin and who doesn't see the problem with his sin he's doing. That type of person is dangerous. You must never allow them come near you. It doesn't matter what they are saying. You throw it back in their face. And that's why when there were falsifiers who were deceiving and lying and bringing out all kinds of information, a lot of people continue to listen to them and say, no, I know this man, and you don't know him. The problem is that you believe so much in him. It's not that you know him. And then when some people come out of the woodworks and say, no, this man is an adulterer, he has side chicks, he does this, he does that, they'll say, no, I can't accept it. Or this man has been raping people secretly, or having, sleeping with minors and all kinds of things, sleeping with virgins and all kinds of things they do. They'll say, no, it's not possible, I know him. No, you don't know him. You watch him on television. What you see is what you saw. That's all. That's what they wanted you to see. What you see is exactly what they wanted you to see. You don't know him. You don't have an encounter with him. You don't know the spirits that are powering him. And unfortunately, this is what I saw that was prevalent. And that's why it's always very dangerous when I see some of these pastors who really want to prophesy. They don't even want the office of a pastor anymore. They all want to be called prophets, because that automatically gives them the leeway to be able to have, that type of initiative from the back end, wherein entities are speaking through them in order for them to manifest to others. So I don't doubt they did not hear something. What I'm saying is that it's not God that spoke to them. They are plugged into a different entity. There's a spirit that has hijacked their gifts, and simply because they've been mutilated, they rushed into things that God did not send them to do. And this is the dynamics of what has become very prevalent in our world today. So we need to understand that there's a criminal cabal, there's an enterprise of falsifiers who are multiplying, because initially I talked about in my earlier teaching on some of those who are at the helm of that cabal, some of them who are dead now, some are still alive as it were, but they were in that generation of falsifiers who rose up in the early 2000s, and some of them even started in the late 1990s, but we didn't know them. They were not popular, but in the early 2000s then they came to prominence, and now their snake is very big, and they have given birth to many snakes. And those are the individuals that I mentioned a bit when I was doing my series on the false church and also the false prophets. But now I have discovered that those prophets, even though some of them are dead, even though some of them are no more on the planet, even though some of them are no more, in notoriety, but they've already left a lot of babies behind. And now we have these baby prophets who are everywhere now, and these are the new crop of the baby snakes that I saw that was released by that mother snake in the heavenlies, or in the second heavens, that has now saturated the earth. And since I'm a snake hunter, and that is what my mission and calling is as son of Elijah, this subject, I have to sit on it. I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care who doesn't like it. I have to just stay here for a while. Someone wrote to me and said, preach the gospel. I say, exactly. That's what I'm trying to do. The gospel is to set people free. God told me specifically to set people free. Now, in the month of February this year, based on stories I've explained before, Jesus came to me last year, July 14th, 2023, and he spoke to me specifically of the assignment that he had told me to do, for which I was trying to give him excuses for the son of Elijah and the concept I had not really worked on. And then he was upset with me and did rebuke, and then he walked away and he said, I'll be back. And when he said I'll be back, immediately I heard in my spirit that he'll be back in a year's time, and you better wake up. You better do what he needs you to do, because Jesus is the task master. So when he left, I said, okay, I need to act. And then I started acting. And then finally, in the month of February this year, I released those new series. And from there, we released the prophetic series, the false church, and all the content that I started pushing out. And if you notice, as that content was coming out, a lot of people were beginning to ask questions. Even I got people from all over the world who typed in the word witchcraft, type in the word false church, type in the word witches or wizards, all kinds of things, and then my videos, were caught up in that algorithm that will serve them. These are the videos that you may be looking for. And then with that, they were able to connect. And it's amazing the transformation that has occurred as a result of the impact that came from that revelatory, didactics dynamics of that which the Lord is releasing and the comprehension of that which is pushing forward with as these revelations are being unleashed. Now, when I saw those things and I saw the response, it was quite interesting. But I want to share something with you. If you notice of recent, I have not been posting regularly on Facebook and on YouTube. And the reason I've not been posting very regularly was because I've been swamped with a lot of people wanting prayer. Now, when you are releasing content and people are listening to you, and I made no effort to even tell people to call us or provide a number or a WhatsApp contact or anything they could use to reach out to us, except just the email. And a lot of people just could not find the email. I don't know, for one reason they won't go to the description section. Maybe they preferred it to be spoon-fed to them on the screen. So for those of us who will not go to that length, we're putting that content now on the screens for you to look at, and immediately you can also subscribe and thumbs up and like our page and like our channel accordingly, and then listen to the content therein. So we've started putting out those contents there. But something very interesting I started noticing, a lot of people were reaching out to me and they would tell me things like, Prophet, please, I have this spiritual problem, I have this family problem, I have this situation, I have this, I have that, but please, I don't have any money to pay you. Can you please pray for me? And I said, what is this? What is going on here? I have any money? But I never said anyone needed to have money to reach out for prayer. Why would anyone pay for man? So for a long time, I will see that, I'll put it aside. And then I'll minister to them eventually. I won't bring up that topic. But then at some point, it became very prevalent. And I started getting more and more messages from people from all over the world, from the Caribbeans to the Americas, to even the South and North America, to Europe, to Asia. People who were getting in contact with my messages, were writing to me to say, I would like you to help me, but please, many of them said they don't have money. And then I started wondering, what is this talk about money? Why are they? So I started making it a point of impact to actually ask them specifically, excuse me, why are you talking about money? What money? What is money have to do with helping God's people, setting them free? And then I started getting responses. People started telling me, oh, when I got on YouTube, I found this minister. When I got on Facebook, I heard this man. And when I reached out to them, some said my money is $300. Some said my money is $500. Some say if I spend $250, and then they'll schedule me to meet with a prophet. I said, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Because I said it's not possible. Why will anyone do that? He said, but sorry, you don't know what is going on. That's what is going on right now. If you reach out to these ministries, they will tell you clearly that you will need to send them a fee or some type upfront in order for them to even respond to even looking into your affairs or the problems you are facing. I said, this is what is prevalent right now. I didn't understand this. Now, I came from a background where I understand the power of prophetic. I also understand that even at that time, there were those we complained about who always go everywhere telling people to sow seed into the anointing. I knew that was very prevalent at that time. And we used to say, no, this is not right. You can't just be seeing people and they are in need, and then the first thing you're telling them to sow or give. And even many a times, those individuals don't say that at the onset. They still pray for those individuals, but when everything is said and done, they now tell you to sow a seed. Now, some do it, some do not, but we just felt it cannot be something that has to be compulsory. It can't even be something you have to mention at every point in time. It's something that can come up once in a while if you are led by the Spirit. But if that is not the case, you just pray for people and let them go. And that would only happen at the end if they want, if they are willing, if they desire, and if at all they are interested. But if not, because Jesus never prayed for a single person and mentioned resources before or after. So I don't know where these people are coming from. So I found it very strange to hear that. But now I'm not hearing that, no, sir, that one is outdated information. We're not talking about seed sowers now, because then we used to make fun of them and say, they are the professional seed sowers. So that's how we used to mock and play around with those type of things. But now that's not what they are talking about, because they are telling me, sir, it's like you're naive. It's like you don't even understand what is going on. What we are talking about now is this: if you want people or specific priests or men of God to pray for you, you will need to send them an upfront fee of a certain amount. And there are some that are not bold enough to mention that amount. Some will say you need to buy X, Y, and Z. It may be oil, it could be holy water, it could be anything. And they will tell you that package is $300 or $400. And once you have made that payment and your money has come in and you have proof of payment, and then they can now start ministering to you. So when I heard all these things, my head was like, my God, what is going on? And that's when I had to check myself and say, see, before I go any further with the series I had already written and scheduled, I think we need to do a revisitation. Why? Because when I address the fundamental foundation of the spirit of falsehood that was prevalent among false prophets who were already there in the late 90s, especially in the 2000s, who came up with all this jargonous rubbish that is everywhere and that is mutilating the lives and the destinies of many. I'm now trying to say that one, I did not know that those ones have expired. Now the children of those false prophets have taken it to 2.0. The software has since been updated, and now they're operating at a higher frequency, and their frequency now is not sow a seed. Their frequency is upfront money, pay for it, and then we attend to you. A lady was telling me how co-workers and individuals in her workplace did diabolical things against her, and she knew she was laboring under some type of witchcraft manipulation because there were things that were happening in her life that was no more going the way it should. And then she knew at that point in time she needed to find help, and then she gathered herself, and then she traveled to America. Now she did live in America, but she was living in non-continental US. So she went to continental US for help, and she said she attended all kinds of meetings that are called deliverance conferences. But for you to be booked, for you to get in, you need to pay anywhere between $300 to $1,000, depending on your positioning, depending on where and the access, the type of access you want, whether it's private access or individual access or general access or whatever. But anywhere, the fees could be anywhere between $300 to $1,000. And I shouted, and she said, I've spent so much money. She said, I used to have savings, but I used this money because I was looking for help, and I went everywhere. He said, you know, right now there are other groups on TikTok, on YouTube, and or places like that, on Instagram. They advertise it boldly. If you have this spiritual problem, contact us. You know, we're a man of God, will fix it. And once you contact them, they tell you, first thing first, send $200. Once you send $200, the money appears, and then we can start dealing with your problem immediately. We start looking into the dynamics of fixing your issue. And she was like, do you know that not once, not twice, I paid that money? At the end of the day, nothing happened. I said, how will anything happen? Nothing good will ever come out of it, because you actually are paying falsifiers and deceivers. And there's no way falsifiers can deal with the spirit of wickedness that is chowing down or reducing your destiny to penury. There is no way. Now, because these individuals profit from human demise, whatever is your problem is an opportunity for them to get resources. And so the love of money escalated with the deceitfulness of riches in the hearts of these falsifiers, and now selling as agents of wickedness, mutilating the lives of many, taking advantage of them, using whatever they can, telling them lies, trying to rope them into what doesn't exist. And gradually and systematically, people are being mutilated everywhere. And not just that, because there were a lot of things. That's when I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to do a thorough compilation. And this not going to be compilations from third parties. It's going to be people who had direct encounters. And I spoke to them extensively. I wanted to know, what exactly were these prophets telling you? What was going on? What did they tell you? And then one after the other, everyone started telling me, and I started documenting them. I started speaking on them. I started documenting them of all the things they're asking, because specifically these are things that I want to address. These are things I want to make clear, so that everyone can pay very close attention to the spirit that is already in the church, to the spirit that is already prevalent, to the spirit that is being released in these final days. How the spirit of falsehood, how the spirit of lies, how the spirit of deception, the love of money, the love of things, the love of assets, the desires for goods has overrun the hearts of falsifiers who now have snakes. And that's why I saw those holes in their ears, because the holes are the compromises, the desires, the illicit passion for the things of this world, the cravings for the things of this world that created that opening. So when that snake came, he found a place to stay. He found home, and from there control them. So they hear the voices, they see the visions, and then they think God is speaking to them, but the snake is the one that is doing all that. And with all the attentiveness or the attending spirits that are working through them, they are manifesting the spirit of falsehood, and God's people are being trafficked on a day-to-day basis, and that is multiplying on an ending basis. So I have calculated, and I have put together a sound list of all these things, and I'm going to deal with them one after the other. And those things are called the assets of Babylon, the instruments of Babylon, the installations of Babylon, and everything they are using to literally eat God's people life, so that no one will come out and say, God, I didn't know. Now the Lord wants me to bring this content out, and I'm going to be very literal without even calling, because now I'm dealing with the children of falsifiers. So I don't need to go into the names of all the prophets who are doing this. There are too many of them, and there are so many of them I don't even know their names. But the people I spoke to, because there was a lady I spoke to recently, I said, what is the name of this person? And she said, I'll confirm. And then she gave me the name, and she said the name of his ministry is this. He's based out of this ministry, out of this city, and this is what he's doing. And a lot of young ladies go there and they don't see anything wrong with it because they call him a celebrity prophet. So he has the clout and he has the influence, and if you don't like it, you can go anywhere and say what he told you privately. And when I heard these things, it shook me up to say, you mean it has gotten to this level? The things that are occurring in secret places is amazing. I don't know how God bears humanity. I'm telling you the truth, because God is seeing all these things and yet he allows the earth to thrive. I don't know how people continue to do things like this. They are literally eating the souls of men. They are trafficking in the destinies of God's people. They are mutilating their lives. They are taking advantage of them, and they have no care in this world with what they are doing, and they are pushing their agenda hard, mutilating the forces of darkness, pushing whatever they can and must in order for them to take advantage of people's lives. And people are struggling, people are failing, people are stumbling over this falsehood. How do you pay someone money to pray for you? You already know it will not work because it's not from God. In short, that money now becomes an enactment of a new covenant wherein you sold your own destiny away to that false prophet. And that's why many of these people, after they go into such prayers, by the time they come out, their troubles are doubled and quadrupled, simply because now they've stolen their stars and their glories. Because you have to understand that those snakes are like boa constrictors and they are like pythons. And if you know anything about these entities, they can move through the waters, they can move through the land, they can swallow anything, and they swallow the glories of men. And a lot of stars and glories have been swallowed. A lot of stars and glories have been taken. A lot of stars and glories have been swallowed and taken by these entities, because the spirit of falsehood, the spirit of theft, the spirit of lies, the spirit of deception have literally swallowed away the destinies of many. And a lot of people have been entrapped in the mutilating forces of wickedness that is prevalent on the earth today. So those things were really a shock to me. I didn't know it had gotten to that level, because I was still thinking we're still in the era of sow seed, sow seed. I didn't know that now we're in the era of upfront payment. If I don't see my bank balance reflecting your deposit, the process will not start. Initially, I thought it was a joke, but it's a real thing. I remember a woman I was talking to, and then she was telling me her own experience. She said, you know, her own prophet, who she also served in his ministry as a minister and also as a pastor, when she needed to meet with him for him to pray for her, who is one of those who are pastoring within the establishment, she will need to pay him money of about between $450 to $500 in order to meet with him. And that meeting is only 60 seconds, because all I hear he does is to tap your head and say, in Jesus' name, and then your whole $500 has just gone. I said, this is a cabal of crooks. This is an enterprise of wickedness. But the dimension of their wickedness is not stopping, because they have taken it to places where they are. They are not stopping. They are branching it out. Every nation they go to, they literally sell this garbage. And it's always a shock to me that God's people actually put up with this. Why do you put up with this? Don't you know to whom you submit to whom you obey the devils that are working through that person? When you call on that person and say the God of this person, you are literally calling upon devils that have plugged into that person and using him to mutilate the lives and the destinies of many. That is exactly what is happening with this criminal enterprise that is running right now in the church. So I'm here to bring the assets of Babylon to the open. Now this is because there are so many individuals who are doing this. So there's no time to be trying to corner it to specific persons. But once you see the spirit, because that spirit is consistent in its workings, and with those consistency of workings, these things will be prevalent everywhere they are released. These things will be prevalent everywhere they are unleashed. These things will be prevalent everywhere they are unleashed. So pay very close attention to the dynamics of this wickedness. And I'm just using this as an example because we have actually a compilation of all the assets of wickedness that Babylon uses. And sure, Babylon told me specifically in 2016, she said, I traffic in exotic goods. I have assets. And those assets are 26 in all. And yes, there's a scripture that actually mentions the whole 26 of them in the book of Revelation. So there are 26 assets. And the last one in those 26 is actually the souls of men. She traffics in the souls of men. So when you go into these individuals and give them resources, what you don't know is that you are trafficking your destiny along with your financial fortunes. And that's why many of these people become broke under a short while. They crash financially and things get worse and worse. I remember one time I was staying in the city of Cape Town in South Africa, and I remember a woman approached me and said, "Please, Pastor, I don't understand this." I just newly met her, and she met me not even on the platform of ministry. I was more like a neighbor there. And then when she learned I was a minister, she said, "I have a question that's been puzzling me." And she asked me a question, that's been disturbing her. And I asked, "What is this all about?" She said, I'm part of a ministry, and I am a leader within that ministry. I have a business, and that business does this. I run also a calling center, and I do all this. And she was telling me all the dynamics, and she has all the licenses. She said, "But every time I make money from my business and I bring it to my church, according to the pastor's leadership, telling us to give, commit, support the work," he said, "every time I put my money there," he said, "immediately everything dries up. I lose resources, businesses, clients who are already, trying to sign up, everything falls apart. And I don't understand it." He said, "And this thing, it will take me a while before I recover. And when I eventually work extremely hard, get another set of clientele again, something will just happen in church and they'll say, 'No, everyone needs to give towards this project. We're expecting this and that. God will do this and that for you.' And then they will hype the meeting, hype the encounter, hype." You see, at times they will even bring guest ministers who will emphasize that, "No, those who have 10,000, those who have 20,000, those who have this, come out." And then they keep ringing it until eventually you become ashamed and then you come out. And she says, "And when I drop this money, by the time I return to the office by Monday, businesses, new contracts begin to collapse again." And she said, "But I don't understand this. How does that make any sense? Why will I give to God's work and be reaping poverty on an accelerated format? Is this how it's meant to be?" And I told her, "This is very interesting, because you see, that man is a Babylonian. That man is a false prophet. That man is a false preacher. So the snakes that are powering that spirit of the deceitfulness of riches, coupled with the lust of the eyes and the love of money, is what is actually speaking and telling you to sow into them. So when you sow into them, they take that money, so they receive it on the platform of their mutilated substance, of their manipulated platform. And those entities, those snakes now receive it. Remember, they receive that offering. They swallow it actually. They swallow that which you release. And with that comes the work and the sweat of your hands. And automatically you've traded with that prophet. And by trading with that prophet, you have actually given him your glory without knowing. And then those snakes now receive it as an offering. And that offering they receive is now what they are giving you, because they must give you an equivalent of what you give them. And what they give you is death. What they give you is poverty. What they give you is lack. Because they've taken what belongs to you, now they are giving you what you reap from Satan. Because Satan does not bless, Satan curses. So when you give to Satan's agenda, someone say, "But I gave to the church." What you gave to was a man's structure. I told someone one day, they are organizations, they are not churches. It's an organization. Someone just put together and labeled a Christian name on it, and then is running a criminal enterprise. And so I'm here to tell you, you need to beware of criminal enterprises that are all over the planet. You need to be aware of criminal institutions that are everywhere, that have been set up by these falsifiers, and using that initiative to take resources from people and grind them down and break them down and bring them to a place of accelerated mutilation, where they are struggling, where they are suffering, when things are not falling into place. And all because of these criminal entities who are functioning and pretentiously trying to take the glories of people. They are trafficking in the souls of men. And I don't want to go beyond these depths because there's so much material I put together with scriptures and understandings that lines up perfectly with the alignment of the depth of this wisdom. So all that is set and good to go. So I'm not going to go into all that dynamics, into its in-depths, but I just wanted to let you know that right now there is something going on the earth which is prevalent much more than before. People are contacting me now and say, I'm even afraid of the church I attend because some of the things that you say in your teachings are all the trappings. You see, when Babylon told me these are my exotic goods, I had an encounter with God. God showed me those 26 assets and he told me that 26 in all, and then without 26 there were a lot of things that were stipulated and put in place. So I've been able to resolve them into 3 specific layers: that which is satanic, that which is demonic, and that which is born out of the serpents or that which is serpentine. And there are 3 layers, because that which is satanic is of the depths, that which is demonic is of the physical, and that which is serpentine is of the mental. And all these are the assets that Babylon is selling. That which is mental is the merchandising and the selling and the trafficking of souls. That which is physical is the seduction and the trappings of the defilement and the accusations of demons and devils that follow through. And finally, that which is satanic is powered by the powers of hell, designed to corrupt your inner man, to place dark matter within you and cause you to a place where you are entrapped in a certain evil structure that will hold you bound over a long time, and eventually cause you to lose your soul and your salvation, and then you end up in hell, because it's the powers of hell, the powers of death, and the powers of the grave. The merchandising sell you death. Those are what the merchants do. They traffic, they use your money, they take resources. The same thing witches do. A witch called a woman and she said, the witch said I needed something because they are related, and then she sent money to the witch and all her business dried up. Everything, she lost everything, literally. And then it became so terrible that those resources now ended up in the lives of the children of the witch, because now the children of the witch are prospering, driving nice cars while she's going down and down. So they shared her money, they've taken. How did they get it? Immediately she gave that money to the witch. It touched base with the witch and now swapped her destiny and took her glories and then gave it to whoever she wanted to, and in this case her children. It's the same thing. The false prophet takes your money and then that money becomes the swapping, it becomes the enactment. When people used to consult witch doctors and all their likes those days, how do they do it? The witch doctor would say, bring a calf of an animal, bring a goat, bring ducks, bring a cockerel, all kinds of things they tell you to bring, and then they use the blood of that and make the enactments, and the covenants are sealed, and then they come back, they say 3 days time, take this, put it in your roof, put it under your pillow, put it under your bed, put it this, and then you should begin to see money work, or put it in your business, or bring in the shop of your business, and then clients will begin to come. Why do they do all these things? Because all these are the covenants, and the blood was the enactment that was used to, in order for them to seal up that covenant, for which these individuals now are trying to prosper using the help of demonic entities that are trying to get those things to work. And many a times these are stolen glories that also have been taken from others, trafficked. And in this case, we are talking about pastors who have trafficked in the destinies of these individuals and are transferred into the records and the database, and because there's a place where they bank the glories of men, and then from there they trade it to others. I will never forget an encounter I had one time. In that vision, I saw a man arrive in a country, and in that country, the man was saying, yes, so now I've arrived here, I'm going to do great things in this country. I'm going to transform, because I came from a generation of traders. We're very good with commerce, so I'm going to look at what is possible here, what we can buy and sell. We're going to set up shop business and all kinds of things. And then I saw this guy boasting and talking about how he's so gifted, because all our family members do well. Every nation they travel to, they do extremely well because they are very good with business and commerce. And so I saw that as he was talking, I saw his spirit came to him, and the spirit was a leviathan. It was a crocodile, and the crocodile was talking to this entity. Now he's hearing a voice, but he doesn't know it was a spirit that was speaking to him. He thought it was maybe God. And that spirit was telling him, say, see, in this land you can't really flourish doing that business, because in this place, you can't have a leeway. You're a foreigner. A lot of things, oppositions, hindrances will not let you flourish. But I have another business you do well here, and the foreigners do well here with this business. And that business was totally legal. It was a contraband business. It was a business that could get you to anywhere to 20 to 30 years imprisonment if you are caught. So the guy was like, no, this is risky. And that's where he said, no, you do well in it. You do well in it. You're a mastermind. You're good. Your gifts are there. Can't you see your gifts? Can't you see this? Can't you see that? And let me tell you, that path you want to go through, it won't work. There's no way for that type of commerce and legal business you want to do, because it will never thrive. The locals here will never let you flourish, and they can come in one day and burn all your business because you're an open target when you are trying to base yourself in a corner and not knowing that the dynamics of what you are trying to invest in, there's no grace for it, because in this land you're for. So that entity was tuning this guy, and eventually he listened, he heeded, he thought about it, and he said, okay, fine. So that spirit now told him, he said, you know what you're gonna do? It's just for a few years. I'm not saying you're gonna do this indefinitely. Do this, get startup capital, get things running, and then you can invest and finally start your business. And then the guy said, okay. In that vision, I saw how he was nodding his head. He said, okay, I think I would do it. Now he doesn't know it's a demonic, spirit, a leviathan, a crooked serpent, a crocodile. In the spiritual realm, a black crocodile, very dark, not grey but pure black, was the one telling him what to do. Now he thought he was hearing maybe God or his conscience, but he didn't know he was hearing a devil. I was watching this whole thing, and then after that spirit told him everything, and told him how he needed to do it, and told him how he needed to start, and how he could get things rolling very quickly, and that later he will come back. Then that spirit now told him, just bury your gift here. He said, don't worry, it will be safe here. And he told him where it is. So the guy dug up the earth. I saw him. He put his talent, his gift, his abilities, his star, his glory, everything that was his natural heritage from his forefathers, wherein he could utilize it to flourish in the land. I saw him dig up the earth, put it in there, buried it with fresh soil, and then he was good to go. And he was happy. And then that spirit told him, look at the ground. You see this place? You can come in and check on it anytime. You will see that everything is intact. No one has been able to touch your talent. And maybe in 2-3 years, you just pick it up, and then you pick up from there. The money you've made from this other illicit business, you just swap it into this one, and then you do well, and your life will flourish, and things will work well for you. And then the guy was like, okay, I will do exactly that. And then in that vision, I saw him left, and he started hustling, started doing this illegal business. And because of his natural talent and gift, he was able to really get things moving. And then he learned from others who had come in before him, who that crooked serpent had also lied to. And then he learned the ropes of how to move things quickly. And then he was already counting his money and making profit from what he was doing. But then I now saw, God now showed me, and I saw where he buried that gift and talent, that is natural glory. And then I saw that every day in the realm of, because he's sleeping now, so out of his inner man will come in and look at that ground. I saw in that vision that he will come back to that ground where he buried his glory, or buried his talent or his gift. And then every time he looks at the ground, he says, yeah, good, because the earth was not disquieted in any form or way. So it was obvious that everything was beautifully intact. And because it was beautifully intact and kept in a very profound way, wherein the earth was not moved in any way, it looked like as if everything worked perfectly, and it was hunky-dory, and yeah, it's good. But I now saw in the realm of the spirit that crocodile was able to move through the inside of the earth, subterranean. I saw that croc, and I saw where the crocodile was in the waters somewhere very far, and then it was moving into the depths of the waters, and it came to a part where it came to the edge, as it were, of the ocean walls, and I saw that it just started eating into the soil, and then it entered the soil. And I say, whoa, this one is not just a water spirit, this one can also move in the subterranean of the hard rock. And I saw it moving, and it was moving, and then it dug itself all the way to the place where that individual had buried all its glory. And then I saw that entity just went there and swallowed all the glory, not just of that guy, but every other person that conceived and convinced them to do that burial of their talent. And the Bible speaks about it, of how a man went and buried his talent. And people still do it in today's modern world. They bury money, they bury coins, they bury things in the backyard, they bury it. So that was exactly, and as far as you wake up in the morning and look through your window and the earth is not disquieted and no one has put a shovel to the ground, you know that your money is there, you know that your wealth is there, you know whatever you buried is still there. Why? Because the earth is not disquieted in any form or way. For someone to get to it, there's no other way, they just have to dig it up. So once it's not dug up, you can't be touched. But now in the spiritual realm, I saw that the natural gift, talents, glories that these individuals left dormant, not using to produce, now picking up on the wickedness of now doing the exercises that Satan has suggested for them, and bury their natural heritage that they had, because they are still generational blessings. Not everyone is struggling with a generational curse. Some have generational blessings that are there, that becomes their aptitude for them to be productive in any place they come to. So they buried it in that ground, and then that spirit was able to dig from inside the earth, because he swallows the glory of men, and then he was able to find in exactness what had been buried there, and then swallowed it all up. And after swallowing it, it turns around and then dug its way again back into that channel and then moved out. And then I still saw in the physical or in the spiritual realm, as it were, but now in the surface of the earth, these individuals will come and check the earth and say, yeah, it's intact, our glory is still intact, let me still go and hustle a bit. Eventually I will switch over, not knowing their glories are gone, not knowing their blessings are gone, not knowing their backing is gone, not knowing that their future has been taken, not knowing that they have been robbed clean. And it's simply because they did not pay attention to the dynamics of the forces of wickedness and the entrapments of darkness and all the manipulations that the devil is using in order to steal the glories of men. And that's exactly what has happened to them. And I saw how these guys, and I know it till today, they are still suffering and struggling. Someone say, but how can that old blessings be retrieved? Except they go for deliverance. Except they go for deliverance. Because there was a man who later came to me and I told him the story, and I said, not only am I telling you the story, I see clearly that you yourself, your glory has been stolen, and you're also doing that business. You buried your destiny, and then you went in, and he said, exactly, that's what happened to me also. And I decided, I saw everyone is doing it, I left my real talent and I started pursuing this thing, and I've been hustling and whatever. I said, exactly, that's what is happening to you. So I had to do deliverance for him. So so before we round off this, if there's anyone who would like help, if there's anyone who wants to connect with Lionsgate, who wants deliverance, who requires it, a lot of people have been saying, and I give an analogy of someone I met in 2003 who told me that if the real are doing what they are meant to do, the fakes will not take over the whole landscape, and we find ourselves falling victim to the fakes. So I'm coming out now to say, okay, fine, I will help as many people I can, because a lot of people are trapped. I didn't know so many people had given their money to false prophets. A lot of people, their destinies are gone. A lot of folks, their future have been taken. A lot of people, they are trapped. A lot of people have been cut off. A lot of people are robbed of their destiny, their designation. Everything is gone, and they are struggling. Most of the people I met who gave those false prophets their money are broke, super broke today. Many of them, their fortunes were off, gone. But when they came to me, I did deliverance for them, and with that deliverance, there's a turnaround. And many of them, their businesses have started catching up again. There's a guy who spoke to me the other day. He was one of those that were giving those things, giving soaps to bathe, all these kind of strange acts, and he has struggled for so long. But finally, his first contract has come through, and that means his restoration has returned. And finally, now he's able to do spiritual things. So, to God's good ground, pay tithes and all the lovely things he has always loved to do before he was ambushed by falsifiers and false prophets. So if you are part of that, who have struggled and been caught up with all these liars and deceivers, please look at the number on the screen. I'll put it, there's a WhatsApp number. You can leave your name, number, messages. Of course, your number already comes by default. So you can leave a voice message detailing what the problem is, what your challenges are, what your fears are, what you have endured, and if possible, those who robbed you in broad daylight of your fortunes or whatever you have. Many of them, but now they are restoration. And I'm not joking, because all the people we've prayed for, all of them have had their fortunes now being restored. Now, not everyone has direct encounters with false prophets who put them in that mess. There are others who are just struggling because they are generational curses, things they can't explain, that has been prevalent in their life, eating their destinies up. So for all those who need our help, please look at the number below and make sure you contact that number. You could also use the email of elijah@yahoo.com, which is also there. Also, you could use that also. Whichever is the case, we'll connect back with you and schedule a prayer for you within 12 to 24 hours. We'll do that because we have individuals who are getting ready to help, bring about that acceleration and maximization. So my name remains Mark the Lion. If anyone wants to also be a part of what we are doing by giving towards it, please look at the description and then you see how to do that, both locally and internationally. Thank you for this program of Son of Elijah. I will see you in the next episode of this program. Thanks and bye.